Okay, we're recording. Sorry. Yeah, I was waiting for that to come out. It's very slow.
I would like to call to order the regular park board meeting of Park Ridge Park District. The time is 7:07, the date August 17th, 2023. May we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. May we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Bendy? Here. Commissioner Bowe?
Here.
Commissioner Grau? Here. Commissioner Holting? Here. Commissioner Leduc?
Here.
Commissioner Matza?
Here.
Commissioner Tunnel?
Here. Would anyone like to amend, add, or delete an item to the current agenda? All right, hearing none. Are there any public comment on non-agenda items? Not tonight? All right. I move to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting of Thursday, June 20th, 2023, and the special board meeting / bus tour of Wednesday, July 26th, 2023.
Second.
We do have one comment that was changed. Commissioner Holting would like her comment originally that said that the residents are concerned about changes, changed to Commissioner Holting commented that she had received some questions about changes. And that is reflected in the minutes that will be signed this evening.
Perfect. So as amended.
Second as amended then.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. I move to approve the closed meeting minutes as identified in Exhibit A and maintain these minutes in the closed meeting records of the Park Ridge Park District, finding good cause exists to maintain them as confidential.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes. Did we approve the ones to release at the last meeting? Or no? The ones we were releasing? No.
Those were the that we were just trying verbatim recordings.
Oh, recordings. So there'll be another one after this too.
We're trying to get on the schedule of every 6 months.
Okay, but there'll be another one to
Correct.
open the meeting minutes. The ones that are not still closed.
That's item 8, I believe.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, I can bring it up now anyway because I'm blabbing. So I think I'm the only commissioner that came in to look at the minutes. And I just think that when we do this in the future, we have to make sure that at least one, and I would think it'd be better if 2 commissioners take charge to make sure that these are reviewed.
We had 2.
Oh, yay! Okay, the last I heard, I was the only one. Thank you. But I think it would be good if we identify ourselves in the meeting so that it doesn't happen that no one reads them. Thank you very much. That's it. And I didn't know if we should make that a policy or not, or just a procedure.
It's a function of how you serve in your office. They are to be available to all of you for review. Whether you choose to do it or not is up to you. The law requires that it be decided what gets released or not every 6 months. So that's going to happen. What you do to prepare to vote on that is up to you.
But I guess individually, I didn't feel like I could vote if I didn't look. But if everyone didn't feel that way, then we would just vote based on.
Well, policy will never trump the law. So if 2 of you did not come in and it's the 6-month meeting, you have to vote.
Oh, yeah. What I'm saying is how do we make sure that 2 people get to review them?
There isn't a mechanism for that.
Okay.
Other than among yourselves holding.
That's what I asked.
Yeah.
Okay.
May we have a roll call vote?
Yes. Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Holting?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc?
Yes.
Commissioner Matza?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel?
Yes.
And Commissioner Bendy?
Yes.
Mr. President, if I might, I do want to follow up on what Commissioner Grau was talking about. The
Please.
reason it's important.
I'm sorry. Can I go to the microphone? Sorry.
The reason that it's important that at least two of you look at it is, so we get the closed session minutes, and I've been here far less time than Commissioner Grau, for example, or some of the newer members. And you're allowed to keep things confidential for a number of considerations. It's not driven by a particular recipe in the statute. People in the community, how you worked together in the closed session and how that's reflected in the minutes. Those kinds of things can be important still, even 10 or 15 years longer. I bring a perspective of the public access counselor, which is somewhat skeptical to that, but of course it's not relevant to the particular Park Ridge community. So one of the benefits of this review by Commissioner Grau in this particular one is I had a sort of a PAC perspective on older minutes. Gail said, well, some of these things are still touchy within the community or for reasons within the board, and so let's keep them closed. And then Commissioner Grau had a further perspective that enlightened all of us about, and these other ones, we should still keep these for these reasons, all of which were particularly valid and legitimate, and we wouldn't have if you hadn't come in and looked at them. So while I say there's not a policy we can implement to do it, the importance of it, I don't want it to be diminished. By having come in and advising us about reasons to keep things still closed, the community benefits in that way. So I'm just, even though passing a board policy is not optimal, it's so important that you guys look at the minutes at some point to decide how long.
If we're doing this every 6 months, we won't forget that some people need to look at them, and there won't be as much to look at.
Right. We're playing some catch up, so we're finally getting there.
Right, yeah, and I think one of the things that we talked about is, could it be under the policy person? And that, like, to make sure there's somebody that comes and looks at it. Like, could we put that as a designation under the board, the policy liaison? I mean, just as an internal workings or not? Or is that,
I don't know.
you would rather
Because of
not?
the length of service of some of you, and
Okay.
then also what you bring from the community when you do it. I think all of that's important. I wouldn't want to limit it to just one particular commissioner. I mean, we have the benefit of all of this long intellectual knowledge of what's happened here. To say, well, you're not the appointed officer of the month, don't come in.
Right, true.
Thank you. Thank you. It was very interesting, by the way. It was well worth the time.
You and I have a different view of it.
Yeah.
You don't know all the
with our
people.
attorney.
You don't know all the people.
Thank you for the extra information. I appreciate it. I know that it will definitely, and I appreciate your comments as well. Thank you. So I move to approve resolution number 23-5, a resolution regarding the release of closed session minutes.
Second.
Any discussion?
So I think what happened is anything that Gail objected to or I objected to, or if Brian objected to anything, we just pulled them and we didn't have to go into details with the board. If you're all okay with that, they're still closed.
And we'll review those again in 6 months, with all of those, with any other ones that we have.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Holton?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc?
Yes.
Commissioner Mesa?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy? Yes. Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnell?
Yes. All right. On to the president report. Guess we found out last month that we have a executive director that's retiring. Congratulations. And after discussion with the board, we wanted to do an open search, external, internal at the same time. So based on that, I know that HR worked with Gail, and we have a gentleman that came tonight, Stephen Schulten from GovHR. He's here to, if you guys have any questions, I know you have this in your packet. I know I got just maybe one question, but would you mind coming on up? We appreciate you responding to the request for a proposal and coming tonight.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. The question that I had, looking in the notes, I know there's 3 different timelines, and from my understanding, they can be kind of flexible as far as, an internal person has more knowledge of the inner workings, somebody from outside the district, not as much. So at what point do we have to, if we decide to go on this journey with you, like when do we have to say, we definitely need to make a decision, option 1, 2, or 3 for the timeline?
So the three schedules that we submitted were ideas, were samples of what could be done. So we certainly could do a hybrid of either of any of those. We tried to take into consideration some of the holiday breaks and some of the board meeting dates and so forth. So you'll see that there's a pretty wide range of what we could do. Take a step back. We don't really, it's kind of hard to change our schedule once it's set. And we treat internal candidates the same as we treat external candidates. So they will go through the same rigorous process that we put them through. We will review all of the resumes and the reference letters as they come in. We will probably interview, depending on how many you want to have into your interview, but more often than not, we will interview virtually 15 to 20 applicants that we think rise to the level of consideration by the board. And then we will bring 8 to 12 of those to the board, and we will sit down with you and go through all their information and go through what their interviews were and go through some of the reference checks that we've done on them at that point. So all the candidates are in one pool, and they move together as it narrows down. So it's kind of hard to, if I'm interpreting your question right, it's kind of hard to have a schedule that if you decide to go internal versus a schedule if you decide to go external. There is a tremendous amount of flexibility on when you want to start. We just need a certain amount of time to produce the job announcement, to produce the recruitment brochure that we do, and then to take the time necessary to interview the applicants that have risen to that level, and then do the reference checks on them, and then gather the information, and all of that information is submitted to the board days before we sit down and go through those candidates with you. So there's probably, I think, maybe 4 to 5 weeks between the time that the application deadline is arrived at and the time when we actually present information to you. It does take us that amount of time to get through the amount of work that's needed so that we're presenting candidates that are worthy of your consideration. So I don't know if I answered your question, but so the schedules that you have there, and you can decide. I can work with Gail if it comes to that. We can kind of pick and choose what dates work best for you. We know that we want to give an opportunity for an overlap. I think that's been talked about. So that's where the schedule could change if it's an internal versus an external. Once the decision is made, you're not going to have somebody give notice at their current job and be fair to their current employer. You're going to have somebody here. So a start date could change if it's an internal candidate who rises to the top. Thank you.
I have a couple questions. Is the whole board usually involved in the interviewing?
I've been with GovHR for 7 years, and when it gets to the board level, yeah, in the ones that I've done, all of them have been all board members who can make it. There have been an occasion where someone's out of town or whatever, but yes, I think it's.
So that's
I think
the
it's a
4
good
or
idea.
5 when you said the stage where there's 4 or 5 candidates,
Yeah.
and then obviously the 2 or 3 candidate stage.
Correct. Yeah. So we've worked. I think we've had as many as 8 come before the board, and as few as 5 on a first interview,
Phew.
and then. And then it whittles itself down to 2 or 3 for the second round. And it depends on how you want to handle those second round interviews as well.
Okay. And I have another question. I know there's a lot of local park districts that are going through this and that are a little ahead of us. So how much are you going to have to redo? Aren't you looking at maybe the same pool of candidates, or no?
There are names. Yes, there are some names that have been frequent in some of our recent searches. But I will tell you that every search we've done in the last couple of years, there have been very high quality candidates who have not been selected for the job. So there are very good candidates out there.
Oh, I'm not, what I'm saying is, you've done background checks and interviews
Yes.
with a lot of candidates that we're probably gonna see.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So-
that does shorten the time frame a little bit
Right.
if we have that
Does it,
overlap.
does it, lower the price?
Tried some of this already.
Honestly, really?
That's
I
a good
mean,
question. I can take that back to the staff. I'm not,
Northbrook.
I'm an independent contractor with them. I'm not the price person.
I'm just saying, I bet there's gonna be a lot of overlap. And unless you're doing new background checks and new interviews, it doesn't seem like.
No, we will use reference checks that we have in the system if they're frequent enough, excuse me, if they're current enough. Because if we have somebody who is in there for 3, 4 years ago, we probably won't use that. If we
Right.
have somebody that's been within the last 12 to 18 months, we probably would use that.
Right.
And assuming that it's the same type of position that we're,
Because you're working with Northbrook and Palatine right now, or no?
we did not do the Northbrook search.
Oh, you didn't?
No. We're working with Palatine. That
Okay. And
opening closes next Monday.
Glenview?
No,
No,
it's in
we're working with Winnetka
Yeah.
recent.
and Oswego Land are the ones that are currently with
Okay.
GovHR.
I just imagine there's some crossover. And then in terms of geography, are we in a position where we can say, just do a Midwest search or just do a Illinois search or how? We discussed this in closed session, so I have no idea if that's something you do or not.
Well, I would say that our preference would be to do a national search. It doesn't really cost that much more to get the information out nationally. A lot of our sites that we place advertisements on, and people who are used to going to the GovHR website to search for jobs know to come, and then that's listed there. So, some of the highest quality candidates that we've gotten recently have been from out of state. So I don't know that any of them gotten the job, but there are some really good people out there. So I think it's wise to open it up. So long as you're opening it up, I think it's wise to see who's out there. Yeah. The only way that you pay for it is in there. I think did everybody get a copy of the price? So there's $2,500 in there for advertising, and that's the only place that it would come. And we try to be as broad across the country and as diverse in our advertising places so that we can get as diverse of an application pool as we can.
Okay.
I have a question about the first phase, like the gathering input on organizational culture and organizational needs and community needs. Like one of the things listed is one-on-one or group interviews with stakeholders identified by the client. So who determines like who the stakeholders are or
We do.
okay, it's all, this is my first executive director search. So, yeah, for all of us. So, I just wanted to know, like, so the board directs like how the information is gathered to determine like what district, what the employees in the district are looking for and what the board is looking for and kind of what the community prioritizes as important.
So I can share with you three different things that we do. The board will determine who the stakeholders are, and there hasn't been a search that I've been related to that hasn't had a one-on-one virtual interview with each of the board members. We have a script of questions that gets asked of everybody, and then we compile all that information, and that becomes kind of the data points that we look for when we're developing the job announcement and the recruitment brochure. Some districts stop at that. Some have had these one-on-one interviews with administrative staff. Some have done very brief community surveys, stating that the executive director is retiring and we're in the search for a new executive director, and base some questions off of that. And then some have also done like a survey within all layers of staff. So that would kind of be the four. And if you have any, I don't know if you do have any advisory councils or people that you work with that you might want to include. We did Ann Arbor, and that was very important for Ann Arbor, from Ann Ann Arbor's point of view for us to talk to their advisory council. Most times we don't, but if there is one, that's a choice that you have to make as well.
So, you talked about sometimes you do interviews with administrative staff in the district, and sometimes you go deeper. Like, what's typical for who you talk to within? I think talking to staff is important to see what kind of person they want to work for. Like, what positions do you typically talk to, or how deep? I assume you're not going down to like summer camp counselors. Or that level.
Might be interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure it would.
No, the one-on-one interviews have generally been with the upper level administrators.
Yeah.
So whatever you would consider your cabinet or however you phrase it, it's the top level administrators. I would encourage, if you want the input of staff below that level, I would encourage you to do some sort of survey where you're looking for attributes or traits or issues that you see coming up or things that need to be dealt with. All of the information that we get through the interviews and everything else, it remains confidential to the people who share with us. So, employees don't have to worry about that. If you want to get it down to all layers of staff or levels of staff, then my suggestion would be to do a survey. If you want us to talk one-on-one, we can do that.
Does the staff surveys, they come in anonymously to us? Is that what you're saying?
They would come directly to us.
Yeah.
We could do that.
But then you would distribute it to us anonymously?
We would probably consolidate things and just put it into a report that highlights the thing, because there's going to be a lot of repeat.
Yeah.
So that we would just highlight the things that were brought up.
Well, there might be some interesting points that the staff might make, and you don't want it coming back to them.
Oh, absolutely. No, and if you want honest answers, you have to tell them that it's going to be absolutely confidential.
I had a question. You had mentioned starting with the list of 15 to 20 and whittling it down. Would you be providing us with who made the cut and who didn't make the cut, or are you just giving us the smaller portion?
No, when you get your book from us, which is the recruitment portfolio, one thing you get is a spreadsheet of every single applicant, their current position, and where they're from.
Okay.
Then we will submit them to you in a tier 1 and tier 2 fashion. So we will say to you, I'm just going to make up a number. Here are the 8 that we think are tier 1 candidates. And we'll go through those 8 candidates with you very carefully, going through their resume and going through our interviews with them and so forth. And then if you want to interview 5 and there aren't 5 out of that 8, then we've got all that. You have all that same information for the tier 2 candidates.
Okay.
So that's how we'll submit them to you. You will know in there who are the 20. If we did 20, let's say, you'll know who the 20 are that we interviewed. You'll know who the 12 are that we're suggesting as tier 1 and tier 2.
Okay. The last question I had was looking at your sample recruitment schedules, right? I don't know if anyone else looked at it. The sample 2 kind of falls in a little sweet spot between us because it's a little bit after our budget, marathons, and it gives, and I know we haven't decided on a schedule yet, but then it also gives a good solid, like almost 90 days before the executive director retires. So my question is that, say we had and I know it's customizable, say we choose sample 2. We're tonight going to approve or not approve using you guys as the vendor that does this. What if we had chose 2 and it says week of November? What happens between tonight and November with you guys? I mean, do you guys just sit on your hands and then wait until November and then start, or is this something that's going to start rolling slowly out?
This actually happened in another recruitment that we did, where it was a retirement, and there was plenty of notice given, and we were hired maybe 3 or 4 months before we were scheduled to get started, because it kind of once you get started, it kind of flows, and you want it to flow. So we actually moved up the interviews with the stakeholders so that we avoided, we did it before a holiday and before summer set in, so that it was done in May, and it could have been done in June, so we did it a month. So we can customize the calendar for that. If you wanted to stick exactly to those dates, then we would be doing our work. I would be talking to Gail most likely, and whoever my contact is going to be at the board level, and we're getting all those, everything lined up at that point.
Okay, thank you.
I think, and if you're concerned about payment, that doesn't happen until we get.
My concern was making a decision tonight in August and nothing happens. Nothing starts till November, because I know one of the concerns when we had done our closed session was getting this process started to get, because none of us have done this before, to give us all as much opportunity to pick the best person there is out there, and also to give that person the opportunity to spend as much time with Gail before she retires.
And this is just me talking, and I did this for a few years. Yeah, it's a good time for Gail and the board to kind of review the job description, and one of the things I always like to do is, job descriptions are nice, but what are you doing? What tasks are you performing? Because it doesn't always fit with the job description. You end up doing more tasks than your job description actually says that you're going to be doing. So it's always a good time to really take a look at that, because that job description then becomes part of the information that we use to develop the job announcement. Sorry, I didn't want to add work to you, Gail.
That's all right. Just sitting around not doing anything. What are you doing? I don't.
Herding sheep.
Any other questions for Steve while we have him here?
I am interested to see if we can get some kind of discount. We don't really have to approve this motion tonight, right? And if that's not valid, I'm okay with that, but I think it's worth asking if we're, if it's likely that we're going to have the same candidates overlapping. So
I'm happy to take the question back.
Okay.
In my experience, it's not happened. So
We asked for a discount for something else. I wish Diane was here. I forgot it was because Diane provided to Lori.
Lori.
Yes. A lot of data that she had gotten, the data that we shared with the board, when we were talking about, should we do an internal, external together or whatever, right? And that's what we shared. She said, well, since we gave you all this information, she's like, well, no, this isn't really, it's great to know, but it's not going to help. So I would guess this is the price.
I would guess that as well.
Excuse me. So you offer a lot of different services, excuse me, and they all look terrific. I mean, they're things that, as a group, we'd struggle with. Just kind of boiling down, of all the things that you provide in this package, excuse me, what's the service you think that organizations like this struggle with the most if we didn't go with this agency like yours?
I think there's a few things. Number one is the volume of applicants that you'll get. It's not unusual for us to get between 50 and 70 applications. So just the time it takes to go through those applications and decide who your potential candidates are. I think that our outreach is really strong, that we get applications from all over because people are looking at our website all the time and looking to see what positions are available. And I think it's a board. This is the board's job to do this. So you're getting the opportunity to work with people who have done this for a living and have been in these positions and know the types of questions to ask and understand really well the way the questions are being answered. So I would say those are probably the three biggest things.
I have another question. Do you have a feeling for how our district is perceived in the area? Is that a valid question?
That's a very good question, yeah. And I said to Terry tonight, this is the first time I've been at this facility, and it's gorgeous. It's fabulous. It's very cool. I think Park Ridge is one of the better jobs in park districts in the country. It's a great community. It's a great park district. And it's a really, really great opportunity for someone who's looking to become an executive director or to become an executive director in a district a little larger than the one they're in right now. So, very well thought of.
Well, you don't say that to everybody, do you?
Of course not. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Honestly.
No, I really don't.
Honestly.
No.
Okay, so you mentioned there may be someone who wants to move up to a bigger park district. Okay.
Yes, we will get. If we get the job, I'm positive that we will get applications from people who are currently executive directors and are looking for a larger district. And I think we'll get applications from people who are department heads at very large districts who are looking to be an executive director, and department heads at districts this size and less who are looking to be an executive director. And I think we'll get a wide range of ages too. We've got some 30-year-olds who are really sharp right now, and we've got some people who are closer to my age that have a lot of experience.
Would you say is the amount of time, let's say an outside candidate would need to, tell their district or whatever, their employer? What do you think?
I think for me, if
Yeah.
just me answering the question, I would say 4 weeks is fair.
Okay.
Some people are going to have contracts.
Mm.
Some people are going to have contracts that may
Yeah, oh.
that may dictate how long, what kind of notice they have to give.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the standard 2-week notice is not applicable when you're,
I would
when you're
think
talking
not.
about somebody who's coming from a job that's prepared them for this kind of job. So I would say 4 weeks would be a minimum. You might see someone asking for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned 90-day overlap. I think that's something that you can talk through as well. That I've been through the overlap on both sides, and there's been occasions where it's been too short, and there's been occasions where it's been way too long.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Too long. What we've thought, and what we've experienced with some of our other positions as well.
Could you leave early?
Huh?
Just say I'm done.
If you pay me, I also have a contract.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Just asking.
The price on everything.
We wouldn't pay you to leave. Hi. We'll put her in that little room. That's somebody's office now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Anyone else? Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for the opportunity. We really
Appreciate it.
appreciate
It's great to have your expertise
Thank you.
on our team. If we hire you.
Hmm.
in 2 minutes.
All right. All right. Big agenda tonight, huh? So I move to approve the request for proposal, executive director recruitment and selection in the amount of $24,500 from GovHR USA, and to authorize the executive director to execute and deliver such agreement.
Second.
Any discussion? Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Leduc?
Yes.
Commissioner Matza?
Yes.
Commissioner Betty?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Holting?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Next steps?
All right.
What's our next?
Well, we'll
Steve?
yeah, we'll go.
We'll have that contract signed, and we'll probably have the president sign it, just because I don't want to be signing for search for my, or can sign it.
We can both sign it.
Yeah, we can both sign it. We're gonna have Mary Beth be the contact, probably just for the scheduling and everything, but I'll be available for questions and getting them background information and whatever the board would like me.
All right.
So when do we decide when, like, there's the
Schedule.
sample time, the schedule, like, when do we start, when are we getting started? How and when do we
That's the
decide?
board. That's just from what Steve had said and what I'm thinking, seems like a board decision. I did speak to President Tunnel about that. I think Schedule 2 looks like aligns, and I know Commissioner Matza said the same thing. That aligns pretty much with, my schedule. And that can be tweaked, like we talked about, you know, it's really gonna depend on a lot of things, but, yeah, I mean, if it's too long, you know, then we'll talk, right? But I think that one aligns. The May 13th one makes me nervous, just because, you know, you just don't know what the candidate, you know, what they'll have to do for, you know, if it's an external candidate, what they need to, you know, give for, as Steve said, you know, notice and everything, and that would just be a week. Now, certainly I could,
Especially in May, if it's an
and
internal
it's
candidate.
May, yeah, and it's, you know, right in the height of everything, right? The busy season, so. to
Well,
me-
even for that one, the position announcement is like right in the Christmas holiday season too.
right,
which
And I
is
know that's one of the things we talked about, you know,
suboptimal.
it's tricky with the holidays, but I mean, and I'll just speak, my opinion too, is that if people want this job, they're gonna get their, you know, application in during the holidays, right? And then that overlaps to, I like how they put that overlap into January. I think that second one was like January 8th, right? That went into the.
Yes, application deadline January.
So there's, you know, there's time after the holidays, so. I think that, to me, that would be my opinion to the board. You know, the March 25th is a little early, I do believe, but it's not out of, you know, the picture. I think a month is probably,
Did you say the end of May? You're leaving the end of May or the middle of May?
I'm leaving like May 17th is my goal.
Yeah, that's not too early.
That's
That's 6 weeks.
I've been told by some directors, they're like, oh, no, you don't, I mean, yes, this is fine for some directors, and I think it'll work, you know, that works for me. Some people are like, oh, no, no longer than a week or two, you know? Right, because, well, I mean, for example, I came in here and I didn't have any training. Walked in my office and not a lot of documents, not a lot of training, because they're gonna make their own way. But, and there's, you know, we have very good files and documents, but 6 weeks would work, you know?
Well, we can decide when we hire the candidate, when we want them to start.
Exactly.
And it'll depend on their own, where they're coming from and all, I mean, there's
Are they
a lot of,
internal or are they external?
lot of things going on.
Like, if the board wants to hone in on a schedule, I would say that sample 2 is the one that would work the best for me.
I definitely would agree with that.
Yeah.
So,
Not too long, not too short, the Goldilocks schedule.
So as Steve said, like, you know, getting the documents together, getting the advertisement together, that'll all start happening, I would guess, in October-ish or September, October, or we can start immediately, you know, we'll give them whatever they need, right?
Yeah, whatever, we'll work to whatever, however quickly and or slowly that you want to. Yes, if we're gonna have the job announcement, what do we have on here?
It's,
November 13th, yeah, we'll start, that means we'll probably start in late September
Okay.
with some of the stakeholder meetings, so that you can have that information as part of the job announcement.
Right.
And whatever works, whatever schedule works for the folks that we end up talking to.
Yeah, I mean, think about that, you have to schedule all these meetings, right? Scheduling meetings sometimes is very difficult.
Yeah.
So,
I think it would be good to resend that job description to us, because I don't think I ever read that packet that we got last month. I just was like, thank you. Oh, thank you.
yes, we will.
Thank you.
I'll have Diane send that to you, and if there's not an objection, I'll start, I think that's a great idea that Steve said, I'll start going through like more like, because it's general, and then just start going through a lot of the tasks, a lot of the, you know, when all this stuff happens. I was gonna do that anyway, right? It's part of the training, so. I'll start working on that, and then we can look at what should go in the job description, what should not, because those are pretty, you know, they're pretty succinct job descriptions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. We're very excited to help you out.
Thank you.
Steve.
Do we have anything for the attorney report? Okay. I will turn it over to the executive director report.
I've talked a lot too, but I do have some more things. Let's see. General updates. Thank you for those that came out for the mini golf for May Niles last night. I thought it was a great night. It's great to see the support from the district. So I wanted to mention that. Wanted to also mention the court date for a couple of our perpetrators for the incidents at Centennial. I believe I did put this in a Friday report, but it got extended, and that's next Wednesday. I am not available, but Superintendent Armour who was with me at the last one, and IT manager O'Leary will be there at 9 o'clock next Wednesday. So that is happening. We have also been working, the new arrangement with the police has been working out very well. They've shifted over to Hinckley. I mentioned the incident, and it's in Superintendent Wolf's report about the football goal, and the kids seem to shift over to that park. So they're moving with the issues. So that's worked very well. We're working on budget, and we're going to put a combination of staff that will be contracted with the police, staff that we hire like we normally do for security, and then our park patrol for next year. So we think we've got a good system with how we've ended the summer. I did give authorization to extend it one more month because we all agreed that with the incidents that have been happening, and we've looked at budget and we're good, and we just one more month, I think, before mid-September is when hopefully we start seeing things taper off a little bit. But so I wanted to mention that. A lot happening with Oakton. I mentioned that our permit packets are into the city for all the different various review boards, which is a huge step. We've got a series of meetings, and we confirmed with the architects this week that the city asked us if we could move the one that was going to be September 12th to the week that we're doing the rest. So we're gonna have 3 review meetings, September 26th, 27th, 28th. All P&Z appearance, and I forgot the third one. Zoning board. Yeah, so board will be welcome to come in to any of those, but our architects will be there. I'll be there. Terry, probably April. So we'll be there to answer questions. So that's happening. We also started working on the potential liquor permit for the rink, and Mary Beth has been very helpful in this. We were dealing with her on the city side when she was there. So we're like, oh, Mary Beth, you're now on this committee. So Mary Beth and Superintendent Armour and I and Brent and Jordan had a good meeting the other day. And the city has asked us to come to their September 5th liquor review board meeting just to kind of talk in concept of what we're looking at. So we're going to do that. Interestingly, what's going on with the Pickwick has opened up some different discussions at the city outside of their, code. So they're asking for things that, outside the realm of what others have asked for. So they said it's kind of good timing that if we can come in, and so if there is a code change, that it would go along with that. So that's good news. Anybody's welcome to join us there. I think was that confirmed? That's September 5th. Okay. And I think
Just the time.
we're waiting on the time. We think 6:30 or 7 at City Hall. So that is going on. Staff is busy with budgets. That'll be a repeat comment for the next couple months, of course. And we will be, as a reminder, we're talking about that tonight, capital. So I need to hurry up and stop talking. And then the last thing is the summer is winding down. Knock on wood. Things went very well. We said it wasn't the behavior wasn't horrible. So that was a good thing this year. So we had a pretty normal year. Okay, maybe not. But in terms of what I got, no. But a lot, there's a lot every year, and with the behavioral things. But as you see, the numbers off the charts in terms of participation, so that's great to see. But thank the staff in all departments. It's a team effort, and everybody plays a part in making it successful. So kudos to the staff, and that's all I have on my general comments. I have a few things on marketing. You want me to keep going?
Is it possible to send out the dates once they're confirmed and the times for those meetings? Because I think it's important for us to show support if we can.
Right. All right. A few things under marketing. Margaret and her team came up with a great logo for Wildwood. I don't know if you noticed that. Rebranding a little bit with the new building opening. It will be called the Wildwood Nature Center because everybody thinks of the Nature Center where the animals are, apparently, and then the other ones will be called the Program Center. So wanted to keep it simple, but so there'll be an overall Wildwood logo. We are putting out tomorrow, unless there's any objection for the board, the press release on my resignation. So I've told a lot of people, I know the board still, there's a lot of people that know, but we were going to put out since we've made a decision on replacement, we're going to, on how we're going to move forward. We thought it was a good time to do that. So that I'll go out tomorrow. And then under HR, I just wanted to point out that our recruitment incentive program has been working very well. I don't know if you noticed, but 23 staff were hired with referrals from in hard to fill positions with internal recommendations from internal staff. And we've given out 11,500 so far in awards for that. So that seems to be working well. And that's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
I did have a funny question. The Twitter stats went down and it did not grow.
The first time.
So we have to change it to grown. I imagine that'll continue.
Sorry, missed that. Missed that word.
It was kind of funny, actually.
Twitter also changed and rebranded to that X. So I kind of have a feeling we're going to eventually fade away from Twitter also. A lot of other districts are. So we probably will too. I'm just kind of letting it play out a while.
Yeah. It's too bad about the unplug thing. But I didn't know about it either.
Try different things, right?
I like the years we had the T-shirts. I still wear that T-shirt. I like it. It was blue. Yeah. But anyway.
On finance.
Thank you. Turn to finance. We have a finance report. You'll notice Superintendent Larson will go through her new little format. We have a voucher list and solar contract to approve. And I'll turn it over to Superintendent Larson.
Thank you. The finance report begins, the narrative report begins on page 37, and I just wanted to highlight a few things before I ask for questions. One is that I did mention again the delay in the property taxes. So the invoices will be mailed November 1st with an assumed due date of December 31st. I'm going to say assumed for a couple more months because we don't know when things are going to change. I did move that budget amount over in the projection sheet, but I may still tweak it again next month, and I'll let you know if I do. I just want to think about it a little more. Right now, I just took the chunk and moved it over. The collection was supposed to be more September and October, and now it's November and December. I did want to also let you know that so far in August, we have received a distribution payment of about $113,000. Most of it from 2022 collection, the property tax year 2022, and some from 2021. So what the county does is just when they feel like distributing prior years, they kind of will. So it was a happy surprise this month, but you'll see that in next month's reporting.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention, again, recreation is doing great compared to last year. So 17% again compared to last year, and that's been pretty consistent these last few months over the summer. Increases in pool pass sales, daily fees, and fitness center memberships. I also wanted to mention when I was looking at the detail that for July, that the driving range also continues to perform well with $10,000 above an increased revenue last year, which last year it was really good, and the year before, right? Like it's really great to see so many people over there. And then I also wanted to mention that program fees saw an increase of 24%. And while the primary drivers are the same as I've mentioned over the last couple months, this month specifically, again, the sports camp and sports classes really stood out to me. And then just the Wildwood Nature Center programming is also a real highlight. I mean, Wildwood is near and dear to my heart, just personally, and because my kids loved it there. So, and then in thinking of this new programming building and everything that's happening over there, it's just really wonderful to see. I think it's a great launching to that new building. It should be really celebrated.
Stop you there. Are we expecting increased revenue then?
Yes.
That's great.
Not right away until.
Right. Oh, yeah, there's more renovation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. Did anyone have any questions about the finance and accounting information before I move on to information technology?
I just want to say thank you for laying it out in easy to understand ways in the beginning part for those of us who do not have finance backgrounds.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. And, each month I'm looking at new and different things because I'm learning too. So I'll keep doing that. I wanted to highlight some IT things for July, and also just I had an update with the IT team this morning. IT staff has been working with the Centennial Fitness Center while they are closed down on an IT project, which is basically rewiring the machines. So we're going to be switching to WOW from Dish TV, and that with that comes some rewiring, and hopefully when everything's back open, there'll be more consistent video streaming up there. So that should make our members happy. And then they're also working with Terry and the project management team at Forest View a lot right now, obviously trying to get the IT fiber cables run and everything. It was really exciting. Director O'Leary was super excited today when she told me that they could pull all the old stuff out and get all the new fiber in with no problems. So you never know once you start pulling wires what's going to happen. So now the two buildings for Wildwood are connected to Main Park. So it's a nice little unit. It should improve connectivity for all three buildings. So
I can't believe we're putting fiber in that little house.
It's really exciting.
But if you have the opportunity to do it now.
Yep, exactly. So then they will wait, until construction is further along, and then they'll be able to continue. And eventually, of course, the last step is adding the computers and hardware and things like that. I also got an update. I mentioned here that IT staff has been working with Comcast Construction at the fitness center and Oakton Sports Complex. So this is our sort of the last of our phase of switching the migration of the phones and Ethernet network from Mastergy, which was the vendor we were using before, to Comcast. Not only is it going to save money, but our Director O'Leary is very confident that it will also improve the speed and conductivity again. So we're at the last phase of that, and they're just waiting for one more router at the fitness center. And then, I don't know if you know this, but Prospect Park is always the testing when we do new things. So we'll turn off one switch and turn on another switch here at Prospect Park. And if nothing explodes and we can all still work, then the IT Army will go out to all the locations. And that includes, obviously our IT team, and then our vendor Go Technology. And so they'll go out and support the locations as we're making that switch and be on hand to troubleshoot. Any questions about IT? Okay, great.
Sounds like you are happy with the new hire, which is exciting.
Yes,
That's
yes,
great.
we're very excited. He is someone who was here as a temp a while ago and just fit right in with our two, Nick and Eileen, our current IT staff. And so they're thrilled. They just can't wait for him to start.
It's worth the wait.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you, Superintendent. I move to approve the payment vouchers in the total amount of $1,221,716.26.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions about the payment vouchers for last month?
No, but I like that they were attached to the report,
Mm-hmm.
except I thought my report was way longer than it was.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, 153 pages.
We should put like a coloring page at the end or something for anyone who makes it all the way to the end. Yeah.
If you
Uh-huh.
see this,
Yep.
text me. Thank you for that.
Okay. Mary Beth, you want to do a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And I'll move on to our solar contract. I move to approve resolution number 23-4, resolution authorizing the executive director to approve community solar contracts or contract changes related to the solar capacity increases for the period of up to 36 months. Have a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or discussions about this?
Do you want me to explain a little bit what
Yep, sure.
the goal was here? Whereas, this is my first one writing this, so Adam and Ansel Glink was very patient with me. The goal is if if E4 comes to us and says we have additional capacity, preferably through U.S. Solar, but it could also be another solar provider. Would you like it? We wanted to be able to say yes more quickly than waiting for a board meeting. If you're comfortable with it, the idea was that we would, Gail would be authorized to approve that. We would take it, and then at the next available board meeting, we'd create a board memo explaining what's happening. The goal is to get all of these accounts. There's 5 of them right now to 90% capacity. We talked about that at the last meeting. And the reason we limited this for 36 months is because our first review of the agreement with U.S. Solar is after 36 months. So the agreement itself is 20 years, but at every 3-month period, if we decide we wanted to opt out, we can. I'm sorry?
You said 3 months.
3 years. Yes, my apologies. So 3 years. So that's why we thought, well, we'll time this for 3 months, and also that'll give us plenty of time. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. 3.
I know what you mean.
You're expecting something bad, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
3 years. 3 years will give us plenty of data where we can also, if we need to, make some other tweaks or make some other decisions. So, the world can change drastically in terms of alternative energy sources very quickly. So, it made sense to Adam from Ansel Glink and I to limit this a little bit. So.
And I think there was an alternative. It wasn't the executive director. It was one of the superintendents.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
good.
Yep.
Contract be for? Approximate, a range.
Well, we don't know because this isn't this.
Okay.
This would just be adding capacity, so it isn't a dollar value agreement. It's just that we can add, 15% more capacity. Something is available at the solar plot, and we can add capacity for one of our accounts.
Okay.
And then what I can do once we start seeing, I know I've said this already, but once we start seeing these on our ComEd bills, I'll report what's happening, what it looks like, and then obviously what the effect of any changes we make as we add capacity.
So we already approved to go forward with what they had room for.
Yes.
And we're getting a
exactly.
discount on our energy, on anything that goes to the solar.
Mhm.
So, but they didn't have room for everything. So when they add more things on, we'll get a discount on our energy bills. So it's a reduction.
And this agreement just kind of streamlines the adding stuff, right?
Correct.
So that you don't have to make it agenda item, put it on the board, have all of us vote on it, and
Right.
then add it. We're empowering the executive director to do
Yes.
that, and then report back.
Yeah, it's only because of the timing. If they come to us and say, we have this capacity, if we were to say, okay, well, we need to wait you know, another month, they could say, well, you know, we've got another organization that wants it right now. So
It
Yep.
seems like the process of assigning accounts to farms can be swift at times, right? Like
Right.
you get more capacity and they're wanting
Right.
to assign it to folks as soon as they have it.
Yeah.
This is, the experience I'm having and getting one for my own home always seems to change.
Yeah.
What farm they want to assign me to.
Any other comments? No? Okay. Mary Beth, you want to do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Halting,
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc,
Yes.
Commissioner Matza,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy, Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel.
Yes.
Thank you, and that concludes finance, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Leduc.
Thank you.
And I will turn it over to Superintendent Armour.
Thank you. I'll give a few highlights from my report. I always love reporting on the events. A lot of great things last month. The children's concert in the park. There were two. And then the Christmas in July was a wonderful collaboration with the Historical Society, with Santa, Mrs. Claus, the fire truck, and the movie in the park. We had a great turnout. It was a beautiful night. The Taste of Park Ridge, we had quite a few things going on with that event, with some things on the stage, some performances, and then we collaborate with them for the Kids Zone, and then had a booth at the Canopies on Cortland. The Country Farm Fair was in July, which is also always a wonderful event. And the Early Childhood Expo was in the beginning of August. That was back after a few-year hiatus, and it's a great way right before fall programs start to highlight some of the things we have offered to that age group. And we also paired that with the Kite Fest this year. That's normally at Hinckley, but at the time we had to, we weren't sure of the schedule for the Hinckley construction, so we tried it out. Tomorrow is the last official day of camp, our extended camp. So another great season, as mentioned. You know, there's always some challenges, but you know, and we had not as many staffing challenges as last year, but still, it was a great summer. Camp enrollment was off the charts, as you can see by the snapshot. We do always, at the end of the season, at some point, once we have some financials and our surveys back, give a more detailed report. But we still wanted to provide a snapshot and, you know, even more participants than 2019. We're still taking registrations for preschool. Beyond the Bell starts next Wednesday. And we had a kind of a mini job fair last week, just a kind of a pop-up to try and get some more candidates recruited. And staff did have some viable candidates and some people who actually called and saw the sign as well. So still working on filling those large wait lists. I got another update today, and we've seen some wait lists shrinking even from the time this report was written. So that's great. The Oakton Ice programs are wrapping up. I guess it's their slower season, although they're still very busy. And the driving range, as mentioned already, the participation remains strong. And don't forget, if you would like to stop by the batting cages for your last swing before they officially close forever. So I think the last day is the Sunday right before Labor Day. So I think that's September 3rd.
Can I ask a question about that? They have a sign over there of all the groups that donated to that project.
Yeah.
What do we do about that? Or it's just gone?
We haven't talked about that yet. If there's
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of.
I also wanted to point out the memberships purchased in July at the Activity Center, which is also a renewal month, but it was at 89. So we're creeping back up to our 2019 membership numbers slowly but surely. So that's exciting. And they've had a lot of amazing trips and programs, and are getting ready for their end of summer camp where they go on a trip every day. And the fitness center saw 60 new members in July, which is great, and wrapped up their summer free yoga series as well. Pools are on the postseason schedule. And so we have for past members, Prospect and Centennial. And then Hinckley is open in lieu of the indoor pool to have an opportunity for our fitness center members to lap swim. And we have some fitness classes out there as well.
We're going to have a really hot week next week.
Yep. Yes.
Hottest of the summer.
The swim team ended its season in second place, which is great. And the aquatics team received a 5-star audit last month as well, which is amazing. The team is also preparing for the start of preschool and all the autumn programming, which is all creeping up very quickly while wrapping up summer. Are there any questions on the recreation report?
Well, I just think it was great when I saw on page 57 about the new sponsorships being secured. I think that's terrific. Although I did want to ask, what is the Crime of the Century luncheon? Because I was like, that sounds fascinating.
It's one of their themed luncheons. I don't know exactly what it entails, so.
You're too young. I had a question about Brickton. 100, we dropped 100 from last year. Is there scheduling issues or staffing issues? Or page 59. Page. July 2022's numbers look pretty suspect, so maybe that's the problem. I don't know. Was there not a camp for Brickton? Was that it?
There was. So I'll double check if there's one specific camp that was less. We also consolidated some space for our aftercare. I feel like last year maybe Brickton expanded into the multi-purpose room, if I recall correctly, and we needed that for the aftercare program.
Oh.
But I'll double check on that one also. They had some staffing challenges too. We actually asked them if they wanted to move into a school space while we were asking the school for additional space. And they said we can't expand anymore. We don't have the staff. So that could be some of it. But I'll double check on that one.
I have a question about the fitness center. Where are we at with, has there been any issues with like teens anymore at the center? I forgot where we're at with allowing teens in and hours and.
Yeah, it's still where they have to sign the waiver.
Okay, that's right.
After it, and we've, knock on wood, that really helped out the situation.
Okay.
We're going back into fall where more of the kids are going indoors. So
yeah,
we'll see how this fall goes. We have considered, lifting it or modifying it. And I'm like, I think we should just wait a little bit longer till it gets really busy and cold out again. And it's working. We haven't had the issues that we saw for so long.
Okay. Are people complaining? Do you know, or?
No, I just, I've just been seeing, not complaining, but I've seen some posts on social media lately about, so one that we could take advantage of potentially, that it seems like people might be, I know FFC has increased their rates and there's a lot of teens over at FFC too. And there was a comment about like there are a lot of teens, and it's summer, which makes sense at both in the evenings at both the fitness center and FFC, but I just wondered how the behavior had been, because if we also have teens, but the teens are better at the fitness center, that might be, I've just heard rumblings of some people who are rethinking their membership at FFC, and I didn't know if you'd heard anecdotally about people switching to the fitness center, if we're getting any overflow from FFC, people looking for something lower cost or more chill, or
I heard
yeah.
that more once the fees were increased in
Yeah.
January. And then I think FFC removed some of their additional options for silver sneakers, and so we had some people come back based on that.
Okay.
So yes, we've definitely seen members come back from FFC. I felt like it was more in January, February,
Okay.
March.
Thanks.
Thank you for telling about your new staff, and congratulations for making it through the summer. Tomorrow.
Well, for camps tomorrow.
It's been fun walking by Northeast Park and seeing all the different camps. They had a Nerf camp one day, and it was just, it's really fun to watch.
There's a lot of fun things in our. I think the Nerf camp was one of our new contractors, the one that, jumped up in participation. So they've been very creative. So thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Bendy for Buildings and Grounds.
Thank you, Commissioner Leduc. All right, I will immediately turn it over to Superintendent Wolf. Terry, go ahead.
Thank you. Starting off with something that's didn't make the report, but just so you're aware, this is Exhibit B with the intergovernmental agreement with District 64. It's just the mowing map, so it's nothing exciting, but there it is. So we were working with them. As you know, they obviously put additions onto all their buildings, and so I had pointed out that the existing maps really didn't make sense, and so the old maps were crude, just old maps that had markers on it, and just for ease, they just kind of placed boxes over the old maps, and we adjusted it, which it's functional. It works for the purposes of what we need this. So I went over this with my team, and Patrick had a few follow-ups with his staff just to make sure everyone agreed that these are the spaces that we manage and maintain. So they're accurate. So we do have they obviously, District 64, in the Director of Facilities position, has a new person. It's someone that was internal, that was promoted, has been there for a while, Noel. I have had an initial meeting with him. We've had some discussions, obviously, to get to this point, but also just to kind of have a general conversation about how we can collaborate on other things and continue the discussion about, where we can find efficiencies, as you will, with, lawn care maintenance and things like that. So we'll continue those discussions and pick up where Tony Bersani and I had left off. So.
It's amazing how much you guys are mowing at schools. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of areas, and it's it's good. It benefits everybody in the community, really. So it's good. So just a few other updates or highlights in my report. We are continuing to work on the fitness center mechanical. We are working with IDPH, our vendors working with IDPH for permits for the heaters. IDPH is one of these agencies that takes a little while to get through permits, so we're just going through some of the submittal processes right now. The good news is with this process is that, we did identify that it was going to take a while, although we did initially submit in May. We're surprised that we hadn't completed that just yet, but we're thinking we're getting pretty close to it. But we've had a discussion with our vendor on this, and from a timing perspective, we hadn't anticipated necessarily doing the work during the shutdown, because the work that has to happen for the pool HVAC project is in a lot of the same spaces that the heater work would happen. So there'd be two contractors trying to work in the same space. So we knew there would be some coordination. So
what we've let the staff know is that there'll be an additional coordination at some point in time that works best for them. Doesn't need to be immediately after. It's not like the second we get the permit, we have to hurry up and do the work. We can say, all right, we've got a break in between programming here for a couple of days. Let's pick this time and we'll work on replacing the heaters then. So we can coordinate that a little bit better when that comes up. So, but we're working through that still. It's just surprising sometimes how long some of these permitting agencies take to get through approvals. But IDPH has been traditionally long. Moving on to Forest View 531. As mentioned in the report, the contractor, did not meet or will not be meeting his deadline, which was originally tomorrow for substantial completion. They have provided us with a new timeline, which is 3 weeks down the road. They've been, following that new schedule to a T. Jennifer's been out there daily, meeting with them. The architect's still meeting with them, making sure that they're, meeting these deadlines. And we feel pretty confident that we'll be meeting that new completion date and keeping them on schedule. So it is progressing, just a couple of weeks behind schedule. When we went through this conversation, they were fully aware of the clause in the contract for liquidated damages and recognized that we plan to exercise that, and they didn't argue that point. So, so that's at $500 a day to them. So they're eager and anxious to get that project completed and working towards that. Main Park Playground. We are waiting on the MWRD permit, but the driving force there of not getting that started immediately is really the delay in delivery for the playground. So this is something that was not totally unforeseen. I mean, even as every time we've come up here and talked about this, I had always mentioned that we would start after camp provided we had the equipment. We took the time to talk about that no matter what happens, we're not going to start the project and start demolition unless we have the equipment in hand, because we saw what happened with Woodland. We didn't want a repeat of that. Even just simple replacement parts for playgrounds right now are on an enormous lead time. And so I've been conscious and been kind of leading that, this is a possibility. And so we're seeing now that, yes, it's going to be probably October. So obviously, as soon as we do get it, we'll work on a schedule, how that's going to work, what's the weather like, can we work, can we do the things we need to get done, and we'll kind of stage it from there. So, but that's what we have right now for that. They haven't even given us a firm commitment. They're just saying that that's when we expect it, around October. So we don't even have a firm commitment on when we're getting the replacement part for the slide that got burned at Centennial yet. That's just one piece. That's just an unfortunate part of that industry.
How late in the year can that be installed?
It really depends on the weather conditions. And so I think as long as it's not complete, total soft mess or complete, total rock hard, ground, there can be some flexibility. And part of it has to depends on what the contractor has to get done. So, they can't pour concrete flat work per se, but they might be able to do some excavation, put in some drainage and some stone work. So it just depends where we're at in the project and what they've got to get done. So
the contractor ordered the material?
Oh, they ordered the playground as soon as we awarded them the contract.
So they will sit on it if it has to be, they'll have it if we can't get it in this fall?
Oh, yeah.
That's quite complicated. It's not just a jungle gym or whatever.
No.
There's excavation and.
Yep. Yeah. I know. So. Yep. So, never anything easy with construction, but we're doing everything we can to get those things in order and moving along. So, as Gail mentioned, Oakton, there's a lot of stuff moving with Oakton. All the everything's in. As you can see, there was a change even from when my board report was submitted from that September 12th date to the 26th. So there's a change there. I did update the project schedule. This was something that, when I was putting all the different project schedules in the report, I said that I would update and show those changes. So these are not major changes. These are things that, you know, always we had kind of talked about a July, August for a final completion date, but this was just, it happened to say July in here. We were finalizing all the agreements with White, and I thought it was a good time to go through and pick all the dates through there and have the conversation, cross-checked everything with the people at White that we're working with about these dates and timelines, and said, I'm just going to update these because we know that we've had the design development push back a little bit. We're still finalizing that. They've got a time frame for us at the end of the month. They're going to be getting that. We're working through some of these different assets or parts of it right now. And then the bidding is really going to be phased, and that's what it states in the agreement, is that there's actually a bid package that they're hoping to get out as soon as November for the ice package for the ice rink. So I'm just making an update to the overall construction or the project schedule.
And I saw we slipped a month, but we haven't slipped a month.
They're in my discussions with them. We're still on time, on schedule. We're where we were. So I'm not. I think from the discussions we've always had about this, we were talking about a July, August, and when I looked to update this, it had said July. So, I mean, yes, in paper we slipped a month, but.
Well, yeah, and I also, the conversations have been that they are seeing a lot of the same issues with getting, you know, product, getting, you know, mechanicals in. So that's one of the reasons they want to get this bid out for the ice. So I think we expect that, you know, that's across the industry what's happening. So
Do you think that's included in our schedule?
there's no way to know. I mean, right now it is.
Right now it is. Yeah, and actually
amount of delay with supply chain.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with Craig 2 days ago. We talked about a certain component piece for the ice rink mechanicals on a project that they just bid for Joliet, and he said that they had as an option to work with a company called Simco through a joint purchasing agreement. That was a potential option to help with a time frame constraint and a lead time constraint. So I actually reached out that day, set up a meeting. I actually had a virtual meeting with that person today to kind of talk through some of those constraints on that one particular part and that piece for that rink, just to help make sure that we could keep that part of it in order. He said that he's not concerned about it. He's a contractor. His parts are typically spec'd through Scott Ward. B32 is the ice engineer that White's using on the project. So he's already kind of familiar with the type of things that Scott Ward would spec. And so he said, you guys are in this time frame, you're well within this, but if something slips there a little bit, I've got a contact established. We've had a conversation. I understand what their lead time is on it. So
Are we on the end of everybody changing out their ice rinks too?
I mean, a lot of them have happened already.
Yeah, a lot of them have happened.
yeah.
So hopefully that'll work in our
Worried about
favor.
Things like windows.
Right. No, windows.
Yeah, there won't be a lot of windows, but excuse me. But we're still a long ways out from this. So even like as we're working through owner purchased items budgets right now, we're looking at things from a lot of the things we're looking at from a budgetary perspective. And while we're getting granular on certain things, like we know we want this specific item, this specific product, there's other things like furniture for the offices. We're having a conversation with the furniture outfitter and saying, look, here's the number of offices and spaces. And they're putting together a plan for what we have, but we're looking at it from a budgetary perspective. So we're still a long ways out because we're so far out that we can't get procurement on these items. So, yeah. I think that's everything I really wanted to highlight in my report specifically, but I would be happy to answer any questions if there are any about anything else in my report.
Has the sustainability coordinator reached out to the city's sustainability commission?
I'm not sure. I think initially when she first started, she may have, but I don't remember. We talked about doing that, but I've had her on a number of different things, and I'm not sure that she has. I'd have to ask her that specific question. I'm looking at two of you
Andrea
and
is the
sensing
chair.
that.
Andrea Klein's the chair of the Sustainability Commission.
Then
so-
probably not. I don't. Andrea and I had a brief conversation earlier this evening about her possibly speaking there, and she talked about a few different things that she would like to maybe hear about or talk about. And some of those were things that wouldn't even necessarily be under the sustainability coordinator person right now. It was more about like IPM and lawn care and stuff like that. So I said that her and I could have some discussion about who or what would be appropriate. So yeah.
Yeah, I had a related question. It sounds like the sustainability coordinator has been like meeting with folks and gathering information, and I'm interested, you know, if the board is unable to speak to her directly, which is another point of discussion, but I'd be interested in having her come to a board meeting so we could hear about what she's learned through her discussions and kind of priority projects that she's identified. I don't know what would make sense for a timeline for that, but given that that was a position, it's in a very unusual situation where it's a position that was requested by the board. I think
Yeah.
we usually don't bring staff further down the rung to talk to board members. That doesn't happen often, but given that the board specifically directed that position be hired, I'd be interested in having her meeting her and hearing what's going on in her head and what she's learned in her discussion. So
I think we could accommodate that, but I think it's not yet, because she was working for Paderma, and she just gave that, she was kind of working at both. So I think that she hasn't been working all the hours yet that.
I mean, she's part-time.
Yeah,
She's
right.
working about 20 hours a week.
Right.
So, I mean, she's been here for a couple of months
Right.
now, but she does work 20 hours a week.
I think we can talk about that.
But and she has, you know, there's some things, you know, for example, we're looking into, and this is just one example, but we're looking into EV, you know, charging stations for Oakton and how that would look. And so, you know, White looked at that and they provided us with a recommendation, but it was just, here's a cut sheet, here's a recommendation. I passed that along to her and I said, hey, can you look into this, follow up with it, let me know your thoughts on it. And so a day later, she came back, had a lot of, you know, follow-up questions and ideas and things that we needed to chase down to, you know, identify, like, are we going to be charging for this? Is this network? Do we need to download an app? I noticed that it doesn't seem very user-friendly. You know, how is this going to function? Can we charge less for the residents, et cetera? So, you know, she gave a lot of valuable input and ideas and information right away that I wouldn't have, or others on my team wouldn't have had time to do. And that was kind of a one-off that she was already looking into other assets of that, and I provided to her, and she was able to help our team, in this case with the Oakton project, so that we could react to that. So we did convene as a group, sustainability committee, just to kind of look over, and so that's part of what she's doing, is putting together a plan. So, you know, perhaps we
Probably
get past
once she
another
gets
another meeting or two and we get that, then absolutely. I mean, it is definitely different. It's not even, you know, to your point, down the rung. This is a part-time employee that is being asked to come in and present to the board. Is definitely a little bit different. But I understand.
yeah, I mean,
Talk to her, then she's got to present to the board.
that's the thing. I'd be very interested in having a casual conversation with her. And Director Mountcastle said I could send some ideas. I fear that email would be multiple pages long. And it might be better just to tell her.
That's why we don't want to intimidate
"Hey,
a
I'm
part-time staff.
Melissa. I'm
Right.
sending this through. I mean, for example, the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus has an environment committee. They meet monthly. It's a bunch of local sustainability coordinators. They provide a lot of good peer support information, like things like that.
That's
that
great.
I know about that might help her. And I realize I've been tardy in sending some initial high priority ideas to you.
I think that,
Um,
yeah, I mean, we just don't want to overwhelm
I get it.
her too much. I understand
Yeah.
the interest. I do. I get it. But if we could put just the brakes on for a couple months and just give her, you know, those ideas are great, something like that, right? But then we can either have a conversation, you know, sit down with her, or have her come to the board. So we'll work that out. Just give her
Yeah.
maybe get a little more time, but any ideas would be great if we could just give them, we can send them to her, let her understand some of these things. And it's also a new position, right? This is a new thing for all of us, the sustainability position. And there's not a lot of them at other park districts, so there's not a lot of history to go to, right, with these type of positions. So it's a little bit challenging and a little bit different, but I hear you. I understand what you're looking for.
There are resources that could help her and make
Sure.
things easier for her.
That would be great.
And to this position. So,
I like the report on page 65 too, that points out like the business cards that she's saving like $600 from the business card QR codes. I mean, who would have thought that too? So
It's not a lot, and it's something. I mean, that was actually kind of something that I asked her to look into early on, because I thought it was an easier low hanging fruit, kind of a something to, look into and see what would work, because I thought it was a neat idea. And I don't, I think business cards are a little weird, but whatever. So, but yes, I think it is a good way to, it's progress. It's something that some areas, and not all areas of the park district, where we can eliminate waste and work that goes into, it's just one little small area. So, but thank you. Yeah. And I do look forward to, hearing if you do have some resources. And she is familiar with, I know Wilmette has a shared position, the park district and the city. She knows the person there. They have a connection. Her working with Proderma, she is aware of other places that do have similar positions. So she does have a network of a few people that she's been working with and reaching out to. So I believe there's someone down in Champaign or Urbana, I believe, as well. Well, it's not local. It's someone that has a similar type role.
yeah.
So I do know she has a network of a few others in a similar role. So, but I would appreciate if you had other resources. That'd be great. So, thank you.
I have a new employee who just was the sustainability coordinator for Kane County, so she might know of resources.
Great.
And she did share with me that she worked extensively with the board in Kane County, just as a point of information.
Just saying. When I have people from Go Green say you should meet this woman, I say, oh, I can't.
I mean, Cindy and I have gotten multiple, like, have you met her yet? And we were like, nope. And, she was referred to Tim Milburn, who co-chaired the Sustainability Task Force with me. We were co-chairs. So it has made for some awkward situations.
I was anxious to introduce you to her at the staff picnic. She was there. I was just say Joan met her.
I know. I'll sneak.
Move on.
Let's move on.
All right. So, moving on is capital budget discussion. So, I know Gail had previously distributed a list of our in-progress draft list. It was not provided in the board packet. Does anybody need a list to look at? We have a little discussion.
Is it the Excel?
There was 2 documents that were sent. If you wanted to hear things, I just told Margaret, tell him we could go. Especially if it's interesting.
I have it.
So I thought I would, this obviously is a little different than how we've gone through this in the past. This was based on feedback that we've had from past years and how we've gone through capital. And so I thought what I would do would be to just start by maybe talking through the list a little bit, maybe not necessarily talking through every item unless that's what the board wants to do, but that was not my intent. So I just wanted to mention that this list is our current list of what we have. It's very much in draft form. We are in a process right now with the overall budget where staff in the district still have a few weeks until they're supposed to have their capital budget requests or suggestions into their superintendent. So there's still time for staff to get that information in. What you see in front of you, though, is a list, and you'll see there's a couple of things, items that are in red along the column. A lot of them have some, TBD. Some of them are numbers in red. There's obviously a few things highlighted in yellow. So let's talk about the red. If it's a item that's in red, a number or a TBD, that means it's one of two things. That means that that item is something that was newly brought into 2024 capital on this list, or the dollar amount was drastically increased from what it was originally populated on this list. And when I say originally populated, you're going to look at, for example, HVAC RTU number 13. It's for $17,657,000. That number is based on when we purchased the last unit of that size and scope. It cost X amount of dollars, and whoever created the capital asset replacement plan decided that it's going to gain in value over so many years, how much per year, and so it's been increased for inflation, and that number was pre-populated into this spreadsheet when we got to this year. So I'm going through a process of looking at a lot of these and checking, do we have enough money for this? Is that the right number? Is that going to work? Was the numbers appropriate for that? And so in some of those situations, such as the fuel storage tanks, you'll see was in red. When I got this list, that number was $90,000. I asked my staff, I just had an inkling right away. I said, that just doesn't seem like that's going to be enough money for the fuel storage tanks. Can you hurry up and get on that one a while ago and see what we think that's going to cost? And it's about $300,000. So for me to help keep track of some things that have moved on this list, I highlighted that in red. So that's the reason why there's red and black in some of these things. Some of these things are just so new, and as I said, it's a draft process. They're just TBD, and that's just what it is. We're just a kind of a working document. The items in yellow, I think, are pretty clearly noted at the next page at the bottom, that those are grant-related expenses. So if we decided to go through this document at some point in the future and say, hey, maybe we should skinny this down, or maybe we have to skinny this down because we've got too many things, we're exceeding our budget, or where we want to be comfortably with the budget, those are things that we really can't touch because that has a big impact on our ability to comply with the grant process. So this is our list that we're working on right now. Gail?
I think we just really tonight wanted to get get the conversation started. We had a request to have this earlier in the budget process, show you where we're at now. And the other sheet, I think, will show you that, there's a lot of numbers, right? But it shows you all of our sources from 2022 through 2031 that are, this is very, very preliminary. And Superintendent Larson was like, I'm really nervous giving this out because of the stage we're at. So these numbers, will move a lot. So that's why we don't usually bring them at this point, because of the fact that we're like, well, you said in August. It's like, so this is how we start the process, right? There is a number out in 2028, the remaining fund balance. Our goal is no less than 500,000, right? So there's some years right now that it definitely is dipping down there. A couple things to point out that.
Where are you talking?
Oh, I am sorry. Right here on this sheet. Right? Yeah. So the very last line says projected remaining fund balance, right? Okay. So that's where that's where we're starting. And it's like, all right, we've got some work to do, right? We do not want it to be, right, at that level. There's some things to point out with that, because the estimated transfer, one of the sources, and it's down, it says estimated transfer from operating funds. You see in 2022, we had that great year that was over $1 million. We go back to 400,000 because that's what we've been estimating. We don't like to overstate. If that goes up, which we assume it is, that pushes us right back to, a good level. Now, There's a preface on that. We've got Oakton coming up, and we've got a couple of years, or a year that we will not have revenues coming in at the driving range and at the rink. So, and we'll be carrying, certain expenses. So we're trying to be very conservative, and that's why I keep cautioning everybody. We've got a lot of unknowns right now, and with all these grant projects out there, to start adding all this wish list stuff. So I think the goal tonight was more like, yeah, here's the list so far. Does anybody have anything right now you want to give us, that you, after my lecture about no wish list, but
I don't think it was as much wish list. I mean,
Right.
I did have a wish in my mind was was finishing the community garden.
right.
I mean, I think it's good for us to know as soon as we know, that
Mhm.
things are going to be
No,
tight.
it's fine. Yeah.
So I didn't really want to throw things.
It's okay. No, it's fine if you do. It's a warning I've given to everybody. You can, well, no, but the
No, I'm kidding.
community gardens is going to be finished this fall. Yeah,
but
so
that's what brought this up. The community garden
it was.
something else. There was one other thing. Yeah.
that wasn't it. And no, and that, I think that's why we're doing this. But I just wanted to point out, we're not going to have this big grand discussion tonight unless you want it. But, I think we give the board the chance now to give us any ideas at this
It
point.
looks like a lean year is what
Mhm.
it looks like to me compared to what we usually are.
Well, the staff hasn't given input yet.
I was going to say,
Right?
it,
I mean, the
all I
manager.
want to say is that it is a lean year. I mean, we have tens upon tens of millions of dollars of projects. So a lean year as far as adding stuff
Right.
to it,
No,
yes.
Yes.
But like, it's not a lean
Right.
year.
We have some big
We
projects going
huge
on.
projects going on.
So linear for new, more
Yes.
new.
For new, yes.
Exactly.
New or replacement. I
Right.
do, why are the owner purchased items budgeted for 2024 for Oakton?
That's when they'll be purchased. Because we'll open in some of them will be purchased in there.
August of 2024.
Well,
We actually
Sure.
put a placeholder. It was part of that
Right,
discussion,
discussion.
we had about the desire to put.
so it might not be 24. Yeah, you're right.
It might be a number
Might be
that pushes
25.
the 25. So again, we're
We-
like in this draft process. But yeah, part of the discussion I think Gail had with Sandra before she left was about making sure that we had some of that additional money for the owner purchased items.
We earmarked when we talked to the board, when we had such a good year, we said, let's earmark a portion. That was our recommendation to the board at that point for owner purchase, because we've seen the number that White's got in there right now for owner purchase. And that's why we're pushing the staff, like, let's get these numbers so we know where we stand with these owner purchase items when they give us the guaranteed maximum price, right? And then we're going to need to know, are we anywhere close? And that, so we have the whole picture and not just part of it. So that could move. That's a good example of movement that happens.
I really appreciate getting this list. I just had like little picky things. Like one of the things in here is the boardroom table update. What's wrong with this table?
No, not that. We're looking to put tables that are more similar matched to those over here.
Okay.
That's it. This was
Right.
never intended to be
That was
like
COVID.
this.
Guys,
right?
not, 'cause it says
Hopefully microphone.
boardroom
It's to
table.
have, and
Not the
then they
board
would.
All right, well, we'll
microphones.
relabel it.
We'll
Okay.
relabel
I
It
was
doesn't
just
look like the
this
board's getting
table's
another
fine.
table, all right?
to finish the professional look of the room.
I noted.
Thank you.
And then O'Connor carpet replacement with the vinyl tile. Is the carpet over there I mean, again, I'm just curious.
That's okay.
Sure,
No,
Is it a problem over there to have carpet? It gets too dirty, or
It's
the people who rent the room don't like
so
it?
it's at a
or-
point where it should be like useful life replacement, and it gets.
Okay.
It's
used.
it gets
April's staff
used.
does a wonderful job at programming that space in a way that I don't think it was originally anticipated when
Yeah.
we did the interior design of that. I'm not sure carpet's the best choice for that. Plus, anyone sitting around the edges knows there's this really weird transition from that area where the tile is into the carpet. We want to eliminate all that.
Okay, I was just
Yeah. The idea is to go with the luxury vinyl tile, which is what we have at like South Park now. The rooms over at Main Park and the renovated areas, it's a thicker, more comfortable. Yeah.
When that was designed, did people think it would be used more for like meetings?
I just,
No, programs and meetings. I
Programs
think.
and meetings, I'm just not so sure that the summer camp impact on it was gonna be fully understood, so.
No, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
My kid used to vacuum over
A
there.
lot-
Yeah, and the rentals are, you're right, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, it's
Yeah.
used, but I mean, carpet and flooring for, you're looking 8 to 10 years, we're in that range already. Now, that room is used a lot more than this room, so this room's still in great shape. That room's used a lot.
Thanks. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I had one question. I don't know, I think we talked about this. The fuel storage tanks. This is at the Hinckley Garage, correct?
Mhm.
Is this the one where
Mhm.
maybe we look at partnering with the city to use theirs? Would that eliminate this, or would we still have to remove the tanks eventually? Or
We'd have to remove the tanks, but it wouldn't be at 300,000, it would be at,
is that something we're going to think?
I don't think they do propane, do they?
well, so the propane, we don't have a tank for, though.
Oh, okay.
Propane, we just have a cage and cylinders get dropped off and swapped out. So it's just diesel and gas. And so an initial conversation I've had with Sarah, I know Gail put it in the report. It's something that we're looking at for the Efficiencies Act. So we're waiting to hear back and see what their opinion is on that. But something we still have to look into. It's possible.
Possible that it's one less thing to, I don't lean near. All right, thank you.
It's a good question because those two facilities are not that far apart. Right?
We're a block away. I mean, yeah.
That would be awesome.
And I actually reached out to Bederma to ask them if there would be like any change in reduction from our liability rates and insurance rates and things like that. And they couldn't give me a straight answer right up, but they did say that a lot of places do have shared things like that. So we'll see. That's a to be determined for sure.
I had a question, for the Centennial Place structure rubber surfacing replacement, what was the plan, what would it be replaced with? Because the
Rubber.
current one, I remember when my kids were a little littler and we would be over there, like, it crumbled off, and I know there was concerns with like toddlers who are at the phase where every new object they greet by putting in their mouth.
Yeah. So we would still replace it with rubber, but we're actually pricing out rubber tile. If you recall, perhaps when we were on the bus tour, I pointed out Nyridge Park. Nyridge Park has those rubber tiles, and at Nyridge Park, that park was replaced in 2011. Those rubber tiles are still in phenomenal shape, no warp, no issues whatsoever. That park was done 3 years later, and it's got literally holes in it. I mean,
5 years ago, it was already
yeah,
crumbling at the edge.
exactly. So, and we had some issues. We had some vandalism underneath one of the slide decks just the other day that we had to repair and fix because they like dug a hole. I mean, it was under the slide deck, so it didn't happen by accident. So the tiles last definitely longer, but still have that's nice smooth rubber transition, the ADA accessibility. But they're a little more durable. They last a little longer. I think it's a better product overall, and it's about the same price point. So, Yep. Anything else on the capital budget discussion? We'll certainly be back. I think we've identified other meetings, and
I just have a weird comment. The total CARP replacements, it's total capital asset replacements, right?
yes,
Yeah, it's just a weird, at the bottom, the
yeah,
total double. I'm like, wait, what's CARP again? Oh, yeah.
You're right.
I think it's really cool that, I don't think you guys have seen it, but there's a huge long list of everything we own in the whole district. Well, not everything, because you keep finding new things.
yes, we're getting pretty good, but
It's plugged into that spreadsheet to figure out when it's gonna break.
well, when we're going to replace it.
We'll put dates on these so we all remember, if you want to keep track of them, where we're here and where we end up. So we'll bring this back in September and,
Thank you.
yep. But like I said, we haven't gotten the managers. I know they're starting to give input, but we haven't. That'll be a whole nother
A few of those things have made it to the list.
They
Some of
have,
those are to be
but-
determined, just because of other meetings that
Yeah.
we've had. But
Right.
yes, there are still plenty to come. So
There's a lot of TBDs, so don't be shocked when you see a different number. Thank you.
read the motion? Or you want to explain it? First, read the motion. Fine. I move to approve approval the purchase and delivery of a 2024 Ford Super Duty F-250 SRWXL 4WD Reg Cab in the amount of $49,055.76 from the National Auto Fleet Group, and to authorize the executive director to execute and deliver such agreement. Thank you.
Right, so I've got a memo on page 66. I am asking for approval at this meeting. Typically, we do have a discussion, ask for approval on things like this at a subsequent meeting. Vehicles are a little more difficult to come by, and moving a little quickly and kind of a little shifty right now, just as when they're available and not. So I didn't want to delay on this. This actually came up right before I was turning in my board reports. I had a quick discussion with our Fleet 4 person, Kramer, and he agreed that this was something we wanted to move on. It was exactly what we had planned for and budgeted for this year. The budget amount is more than what we had anticipated. What we had budgeted for was a Ford F-250 with a plow. What I'm showing in the budget is that the truck itself expense is $49,000, and then we're gonna have to send it out for another $6,200 and change for the plow. It's not that we didn't budget for the plow, it's just that I can't buy the truck with the plow on it. So while we budgeted for it with the plow, and it's all in one lump sum in the budget, we can't purchase it that way through the procurement process. So I'm just identifying it so you have an understanding of what the full cost of that vehicle is. When we went into budgeting for this year, we had a lot of challenges with vehicles in general. We could not come up with good pricing when we were reaching out to the vehicle companies, Ford. We couldn't even get them to give us, they wouldn't take orders on vehicles. They were not giving us pricing. They wouldn't spec things out. Like, we couldn't get anything. So we were working with the numbers that were pre-populated into the, CARP that we had to work with, and then we aged those and put a little bit of what we thought it was going to be, but we obviously didn't have enough for what has happened with the vehicle market. So, and it's interesting because this one's so much higher, but then when I got that Maverick last week, that was right on. So I don't understand the correlation there. The Maverick's a smaller vehicle. This is a larger work vehicle. Maybe there's a higher demand. I don't know. So, but this is a vehicle. This is our primary plowing truck. We're not even exactly sure when we'll get delivery of this truck. It might not be until next year, but it's available for us to put in an order and purchase right now. I know Commissioner Matza did reach out and ask me, well, so now you've got another vehicle you want to buy, but you don't have enough money. What happens there? And I said, well, first of all, I don't have any opportunity to buy that vehicle because it's not available for us to put in an order and purchase. But should that come available, that would be my burden then to look at our other capital projects and see if I can't find a little bit of savings in another project elsewhere to make that work if it makes sense. I don't think I'm going to run into that issue this year, so I'm not overly concerned. So we'll probably end up pushing that into that list of projects for next year and then reevaluating all the vehicles that we have, and then sliding a little bit further out. So I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
How old is the existing truck that this would replace? Or is it?
I should know that, but we had that discussion last.
I think we.
I know we had that discussion.
Showed us pictures of a pretty rusted truck, so.
Just bring that picture to mind.
That's right.
I
can't wait to see.
I will have to get back to you on that one.
I can't wait to see this new truck.
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that one. I'm sorry.
Any other questions? Shall we call the roll, please?
Commissioner Matza?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Halting?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel?
Aye.
Okay. Anything else, Terry, or?
Nope.
No, okay.
Yeah, so you don't have a vehicle on the budget, on the thing we just looked at?
There are.
There are?
There's a line. They're not, yep.
Oh, I see it. Okay, I was looking under parks. Oh, it's something to go in the garage. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Grau for policy.
Oh, I have something to do tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dirk.
Unexpected childcare.
All right, I move to approve the amendment to section 1.18, meetings of the Board of Commissioners, internal policies and bylaws manual as presented.
Second.
I apologize, it was not presented because I read the motion before it was presented. But I believe you're going to present, aren't you? Come on, you gotta do something tonight, right?
So we're, after all the positives I gave you for your review, the state of Illinois has expanded the Open Meetings Act. We're back to the old rules about participating remotely. There were eligibility requirements. Most notably, you couldn't be away on vacation and asked to participate in the meeting remotely. It had to be for one of the other eligible reasons. They've now amended the act to make it so that if you have an unexpected child care requirement, not just your own children, but grandchildren, family, that is an eligible reason for you to participate remotely. I think they miss having babies and dogs and cats crying in the background of Zoom meetings, and so are allowing that to happen. And so our policy here follows the Open Meetings Act, and we want to add this exception so that you can then participate remotely for that reason as well. You have to, the body has to adopt a policy, and as you recall, the report of your absence has to be announced to the body before it meets, that it's an eligible reason, and then there's a vote taken. So we're just adding the fourth reason, childcare.
We pretty much have to pass this, so.
Yes, if you believe in allowing opportunities for remote participation. But remember, you don't have to have the policy at all. You can, in fact, prohibit remote participation. That's a choice the body makes. And I think I've shared with some of you, at least those of you who have ever come to any of my boot camp sessions, one time in my 35 years of doing this, a board did vote no on the particular evening to not allow the particular person to participate. So it's good for my business model, bad for government, but it does happen.
Wow, wow. Well, is there anyone who has any hesitancy and?
I think this is good. Some people don't run because they're worried about, well, what if my husband or my spouse is traveling for work and I got to get a babysitter? So I think this is good, a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I thought you were lumping husband and childcare. No?
Well, I do. I'm married to a stay-at-home dad currently, so I do lump husband and childcare. But I think this is a good thing because it can deter people from running when they're worried about these isolated situations.
All right, can we take a vote?
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Holting?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc?
Yes.
Commissioner Matza?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy? Yes. Commissioner Tunnel?
Yep.
And I turn it over to Commissioner Holting.
I don't have much to update on. I know the lead resident up near Northwest Park continues to advocate for improvements at the crosswalk. He's sending emails, so he's staying on them. And I need to get a more detailed update, but I've seen some email traffic, so yeah.
I talked to, at the last concert, I talked to your alderwoman, and she said she noticed on most, by most schools on Illinois state roads, there's a school marked on the road. It says school.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that over there. So
it's not well marked.
Yeah.
The signs aren't next to where the crosswalk is. It's,
I think she's on it. So I think she's pushing it. She's on it.
I think she was supportive in the meeting I attended, even though that isn't her ward, that's Alderman Sanchez's ward.
Doesn't matter.
I know, but I'm just noting it's not her ward.
Yeah.
That's all I have. I'll turn it back over to, I guess, Gail about communications and correspondence.
Yeah, we just decided we should put that in there from a resident that talked about the fencing and the getting more soundproof material. We're looking at some costs on this, just to have it. But I think that's gonna be an ongoing subject, so we thought we would put in a different perspective that we got from a neighbor, so.
But he wasn't talking about soundproofing, right?
Was talking about the windscreen, closing it with a windscreen, but same kind of thing,
He
right?
was asking us to not close
Not
it.
put up,
Yeah, he was actually very complimentary of the park and everything, and
Yeah.
very happy that it was open and not closed off, and was requesting that we don't close it off any further.
People are asking for soundproofing and windscreens, or is windscreen a soundproof?
Windscreens are not a soundproof.
Okay, so they're asking for both. He thinks they're asking for windscreens?
No, he had reached out several weeks ago, left me a voice message, and said he was hopeful that we weren't going to put a windscreen on that fourth side
So
of
it
the
had nothing to
fence.
do with the sound.
Okay.
Had nothing to do with the sound.
All I'm saying is that we will probably continue to hear the back and forth about windscreens and soundproofing. It's a topic in a lot of communities with pickleball, so. But this was different. That's all.
Any new business? Hearing none, I move to adjourn the meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, thank you.